This is the all-new MacBook Air, which we're currently testing here in the studio. But I don't know about you, this just feels more alien than laptop to me. The design is so wild. It looks like it came from another planet. This makes sense because Apple spent a lot of time talking about the new chip that powers this computer. The M2 chip, which is also found in the new MacBooks Pro. But they only spent a few minutes talking about the actual design of the MacBook Air, which is kind of weird to me because this thing looks nothing like any other MacBook before it. The one feature that's similar to old MacBook Airs is the wedge shape, right? So the old one started off thin in the front and then got thicker towards the back. And this new one also starts off thin in the front, but then it gets thinner towards the back. Like if you put an old MacBook Air and this new one next to each other, they almost look like two pieces of glass that are shattering away from each other. It's very strange. Now, some people have said that the way this computer looks reminds them of the A1 to Z iPad Pro from 2020. And that makes sense to me because the design language of this computer is very much iPad Pro, especially with the rounded corners and everything. And even the screen bezels are more like the bezels on the newer iPad Pros than they are like the bezels on the old MacBook Airs. It's really weird seeing this design on a laptop form factor. It's like normally when Apple releases a new MacBook, you can see how it's an evolution of the previous generation. It's like the 2018 MacBook Air was an update of the 2015 MacBook Air. The 2016 MacBook Pro was an update of the 2015 MacBook Pro. But this MacBook Air feels like nothing before it. And maybe that's because Apple wanted to make it clear that this is a brand new computer. Like underneath the hood, there's a lot of new stuff going on with this machine. Not just the M2 chip, but the MagSafe port, Wi-Fi 6 East, is Bluetooth 5.3. It's finally got color-matched cables. There's so many new things going on here, I think it probably deserved its own design. But at the same time, I would have liked to see something that felt a little bit more laptop-y. Like I've been using the Surface Laptop 5 a lot recently, and I love that computer. I actually prefer it over my MacBook Pro. I just feel like it feels better for doing work, because it has a bit more of a traditional laptop design. It was just a little bit heavier. It's a little bit more grounded feeling to me. It doesn't feel like it's floating away. I will say that the thinness of the computer is pretty cool, especially compared to some other ultra-thin laptops out there. This thing is crazy thin. It's ridiculous. I mean, Apple talked about how it's their thinnest and lightest computer ever, and I believe them. When you hold this computer in your hands, you just feel the thinness. And that's helped by the fact that the edges of the computer are super rounded, so it slides in and out of your hands pretty easily. And it's just a very light computer. Like I can hold this with one hand pretty easily. I do wish it had a little bit more grip on the bottom though, because sometimes when I'm typing on it, it does want to slide around a little bit. That's one of the benefits of having a heavier computer. But yeah, overall, this is a really well-built machine. I mean, just like every other Apple Silicon MacBook that came out after the M1 MacBook Air, it's just a solid piece of hardware. Like there's no creaks or squeaks or anything. I mean, honestly, when you close the lid of this computer, it just sounds really premium. It has a really nice sound to it. So I think anyone who picks up this computer will be happy with the hardware that they get. What I'm less happy about is the notch. Like the notch on this computer is very similar to the notch on the MacBook Pros, which means that it takes up a good amount of space in the menu bar. Now you can move certain things to the left and the right sides of the screen to go around the notch. And Apple says that you should unreally notice the notch because most apps will put black bars on top and bottom to kind of hide it, but that's not always the case. Sometimes there's no black bars, and sometimes those black bars don't line up with the notch, so you end up with these distracting white lines on either side of the notch. On top of that, the notch is inconsistent across the entire screen. In some apps, the notch appears in the middle. In other apps, the notch appears on the side. In video player apps, the notch becomes a part of the video player itself. It's just really distracting. And I'm someone who never noticed the notch on my MacBook Pro, even though that notch is twice as tall as the one on the MacBook Air. But the MacBook Air notch, it's a little bit too much. And it's surprising to me because usually the MacBook Air is the trailblazer for new MacBook designs. I mean, remember the butterfly keyboard? The butterfly keyboard first debuted on the MacBook Air. Touch ID debuted on the MacBook Air. The original MacBook Air was also the first Mac to get a Retina display. Those were all good upgrades, I think, for the most part. But the notch, it just feels a little unnecessary, especially on a computer that's supposed to be more approachable and easier to use, right? It's like I feel like if this computer didn't have a notch, it would be perfect. It would be like the ultimate entry-level Mac. But the notch just feels like it belongs on the MacBook Pro, and I don't think it really serves any purpose on a computer like this. So as far as the screen goes, it's a beautiful screen. I mean, it's 13.6 inches diagonally, which is larger than the 13-inch MacBook Pro screen. It also gets super bright. It's a liquid retina display with a 256 pixel print resolution. It's P3 color accurate, supports over 1 billion colors. It's just a fantastic screen. Just got the notch. Now, I haven't used this computer long enough yet to really talk about battery life. But Apple says it should last about the same amount of time as the M1 MacBook Air, which is pretty impressive. Like, I can usually get a full day of work done on my M1 MacBook Air without needing to charge it. Sometimes I can get 2 days of work done. So hopefully this computer can do the same. But we'll have to wait and see. So I think the biggest question mark with this computer is the price. It starts at $1,199, which is more than the M1 MacBook Air. But you're getting more powerful internals, more memory, faster storage, Wi-Fi 6 East, Bluetooth 5.3. It's really hard to compare this computer directly to the M1 MacBook Air because it's just so much more powerful. Like, for most people, I would still recommend the M1 MacBook Air. It's cheaper, it's basically the same size and weight, and it's just as capable for day-to-day tasks. But if you need more power, this computer is a great option. I mean, technically, you could just upgrade your M1 MacBook Air to 16 gigs of RAM and 512 gigs of storage in UD, have a computer that's very similar to this. But the M2 chip is just so much more powerful. Like, there's no amount of RAM or storage that you can throw at the M1 chip to make it keep up with the M2 chip. We'll have benchmarks soon to show you exactly how much more powerful this computer is. But if you're curious about the M2 chip, you can check out our video on the M2 MacBook Pro where we already did those tests. Basically, the M2 MacBook Pro is about 15 to 20% faster than the M1 MacBook Pro, and that speed boost applies to the M2 MacBook Air as well. I'll leave it at that for now. Make sure to follow us for more videos on the M2 MacBook Air and subscribe to our channel for reviews on all the latest tech. Thanks for watching.